Thus, as we stay on the topic, the U.S. State Department is moving ahead with a major reorganization plan. Approved after a Supreme Court ruling, spokesperson Tammy Bruce confirmed the implementation has begun and will move quickly. The plan aims to streamline operations and align with President Trump's America First priorities. The reconstruction follows an executive order calling for mass layoffs across multiple federal agencies. The administration says it wants to cut bureaucracy and boost efficiency across government departments. Let's listen into what the U.S. State Department press secretary had to say.
And finally, as many of you would know, the department is also undertaking a historic reorganization, as announced by Secretary Rubio on April 22nd, to better align workforce activities and programs with the America First foreign policy priorities. The Supreme Court's recent near-unanimous decision allows the reorganization to commence and will ensure that the department moves at the speed of relevancy and restores the department to its roots of results-driven democracy. The plan, which has been approved by the Secretary and developed with extensive feedback from Congress and the workforce itself, is moving into implementation.
Now we move back to our guest discussion with Irina Zuckerman. Thank you, Irina, for staying with us. How might the State Department's reorganization impact U.S. diplomatic efforts and foreign policy execution amid calls to streamline and cut bureaucracy, according to you?
In many ways, it's more than just a simple bureaucratic overhaul. It represents a doctrinal shift which reflects the interests and views of the Trump administration. What we will see is a much more centralized State Department with much more ideological alignment towards the Trump administration and away from the civil servant class, and a lot more operational streamlining. The restructuring involves 5 major components. First is the consolidation of regional bureaus, which aims to eliminate perceived redundancy and enhance responsiveness to the White House priorities. A lot of people have concern about it because this reorganization could eliminate many distinct offices related to various developing countries, including many offices in Africa. Whether or not that will be the case remains to be seen. Second, offices related to human rights, democracy promotion, and civil society engagement are either being merged or dissolved altogether, which reflects a philosophical departure from liberal internationalism of the prior administrations towards much more transactional diplomacy, which we can expect more of under Trump. And any future administrations will have a hard time reorganizing it back because it would require resources and time to restructure again. Third, USAID is being integrated into the State Department and brought into closer alignment with the National Security Council and the rest of the State Department, reducing operational independence and making development aid a more explicit tool of leverage and, in general, a much smaller component of policy. Fourth, the Bureau of International Organizations is undergoing reorientation with less emphasis on UN consensus building and more focus on bilateral pressure and targeted multilateralism, again reflecting Trump's approach to foreign policy. In his first term, we saw a shift away from multilateralism and much more towards bilateral relations. We're seeing much more of the same in his second term. Finally, the Diplomatic Security Service and public diplomacy bureaus are being outfitted with new leadership and directives prioritizing counter-disinformation, cyber policy, and ideological competition with adversaries like China, Russia, and Iran. That should be interesting because at the same time, the administration is eliminating many of those components from other functions of the State Department as well as other agencies and reducing cyber operation related to Russia in its enforcement bureaus, such as the FBI. Moreover, many of the functionaries in various that work for the White House and in the administration seem to have an isolationist perspective or pro-Russian or somewhat China-oriented perspective. How that will work with this reorientation towards counter disinformation against all those countries raises a lot of questions and concerns in the general public and critics and even among more hawkish Republicans as well.
Thank you very much, Irina, for joining us today and sharing your insight throughout our news.